Thank you, everybody, and good evening. And a special thank you to Caffe Lena. This is truly an amazing event. This is the first time that Wade House has participated in, and very grateful. For those of you who don't know about Wade House, we are a runaway and homeless youth coalition who run an emergency crisis shelter in Glens Falls, New York. We work with primarily adolescents in transition, ages 16 to 24. We have a transitional living program, which is primarily parenting pregnant teens. We offer life skills classes, parenting classes, case management services, care management services. We have a family opportunity center, which really focuses on the family structure, working to build support for when the youth leave our shelter programs, that they have that support following their departure. So we offer youth peer support services, family peer support services, housing assistance, and we do anti-human trafficking work and street outreach work as well. We've been in the community for 21 years now. We collaborate with many agencies in Warren, Washington, and Saratoga County. We are a member of the Saratoga North Country Continuum of Care, which works together to really combat homelessness on every level. For Wade House, our focus is youth, and tonight we're going to hear a story from Gloria, who I couldn't be more proud of. The resilience these young people show every day is just truly amazing. You know, every day we leave work and we hear these amazing stories of growth and determination and building independence. And the goal is really to support the youth. The youth do all the work. You know, we come to work every day and we want to listen to what the youth need and develop a plan to help them move forward in their lives, to live self-directed and purposeful lives. And this is such a great example that Gloria is going to share her story, and I'm, again, just so proud of her and the work that she's done for herself. It's just truly amazing. You know, I don't consider my job as a job. This is certainly a calling. And the people that we work with in our communities are truly warriors. They get up every morning and they help combat youth homelessness, anti-trafficking. And when I talk about, you know, trafficking, when we were tabling out front, so many people come and like, that doesn't happen here. It absolutely happens here. It's very significant, as a matter of fact. But for tonight, we really want to celebrate Gloria and the work that she's done to overcome the obstacles in her life. And I don't want to tell too much because it's Gloria's story, of course, but I'm just so proud of her. And Gloria now works for the Wade House as well. So what an amazing gift and truly an amazing story. So I thank you for your time. I thank you for the sponsors who have put on this event and for our amazing songwriter here. Just a truly, truly amazing song that's been created. So I hope you enjoy it, and thank you for tonight. And it just happens to fall on Youth Homeless Awareness Month, so very proud of that as well. So thank you very much. Thank you.
You wouldn't guess, looking at me now, that at 6 years old, my mom dead and my dad in jail, I left the country where I was born and traveled to the United States to live with my grandparents. Now I'm about to graduate from nursing school. I have a full-time job lined up, and I'm the proud mom of 2 little ones. Tonight, I'd like to tell you about some of my journey and the people who have helped me along the way. But first, I would like to start off with this. Bob Marley once sang, "Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds." I remember the first time I listened to this song, Redemption Song, a song about breaking free from false perceptions. I'll never forget how much I cried that day. Never did I think connecting to a song about essentially slavery would comfort me or impact me in such a deep way. Growing up, you could say that is exactly how I felt, like a slave, physically and mentally. For as long as I could remember, my life was filled with anxiety and fear. growing up in a household where freedom of speech would only lend you physical and verbal punishment. I have always been in survival mode. Growing up in a third world country and going days without any food really is where my spark began to grow. Life back then was bliss, but I had no idea that these struggles would soon take a turn. And truly, it wasn't until my dad killed my mom that things really started to change for me and my sister. That experience awoke something in me that day. The day where I heard my mother scream my name and beg me for help. I have flashbacks as I tell you my story, and frankly, I can still see the fear in that little girl's eyes. But once it was all over, I knew that I was in charge. It was as if I instantly knew to always watch my surroundings and to protect my sister and I. I had no time to process what had just happened. I just knew that my mom I just knew that my mom, my protector, and the person that I loved most was gone. And suddenly I could see things. Suddenly I became aware. Years later, I found myself in situations that reminded me of the night I lost my mom. Although my father was gone, a man whom I feared and gave me worry turned to family members that sexually, physically, and emotionally abused me. Most days, I found myself wishing I was dead. I had nowhere to run and no one whom I felt safe enough to share what was happening to me. So I turned to self-harm, and one day, at the age of 13 years old, decided that I no longer wanted to live. I thought this would be my way out, but this failed attempt at committing suicide turned into an epiphany that made an impact on who I am forever. So once again, things in my life took another turn, a common theme actually, as you'll soon see for yourself. But this time it occurred in the way in which I thought. Instead of an environmental or situational change, my thought process was impacted. Being admitted to Four Winds Mental Hospital made me see things differently. And although I could not speak my truth that day due to the fear that my family's threats inflicted on me, that feeling of being stuck turned to realizing that only I could be my way out. And soon after, I no longer seeked for someone to run to, and instead, I turned to myself. The day I was released from Four Winds, I made a pact with myself. I decided to endure the abuse for as long as I had to, and for the next 5 years, that is exactly what I did. The road to a better life was not easy, and it wasn't planned either, but somehow I've always had the ability to see beyond the mess I was given. 13-year-old me knew that there had to be a way out. And with my high acuity and awareness, and also with the counseling of a middle school advisor, I realized if I wanted a chance at something better, I'd have to do it by what some would call chasing the American dream. So I buckled down and focused on school. And I struggled along the way, but I always found a way to get through the challenges that faced me. On top of that, it was my way out at the time. I could be gone all day and forget about the miserable home life I had. School motivated me, and it was the influence that I needed. I can't remember exactly how, but somewhere along the way, midway through high school, I began to take interest in the medical field. specifically nursing. And it just so happened that the same middle school advisor had transferred to my high school and ended up being my advisor again. I like to think it was fate when I look back into my journey. This lady was there for me like no one could imagine. She helped me set foot in the nursing field by helping me get into the BOCES Patient Care Technician program. And ever since then, I have always been set on becoming a registered nurse. Despite the traumatic past that follows me, there always has been an immense amount of compassion within me. That I could say. Something that a lot of my grade school peers and professors did not know about me at the time was that all throughout these experiences, I was going home and getting physically assaulted by my grandparents and aunt and uncle. I was going home and being sexually assaulted by the same exact people who were supposed to care for me after my mother's death. I mean, what else would maternal family members do after such a great loss, right? So this was my life. I battled anxiety and depression for as long as I could remember. I remember being a little girl and dreading the end of the day because I knew what was waiting for me once I got home. But what my family members didn't realize was that someday I'd grow up and think for myself. And those days started way before they could even realize I knew better. So what happened after that? I started fighting back. I began to defend myself against the slaps, against the kicks, against the inappropriate handling at night. I began to find my voice, just barely, but I finally stopped being afraid. I was proud of myself, and it felt good to finally speak up. And as you would expect, things couldn't have gone worse for me. Half a year before graduating high school in BOCES, my grandparents gave me what I call my going away beating and cursed me with words that I won't be repeating tonight before doing something that turned out to be an answered prayer in disguise. They kicked me out of the house, and although there wasn't a plan, nothing compared to the trauma I was enduring there. I specifically remember taking a cab to my boyfriend's house and ended up staying with him for a while. While being there, I did graduate from both high school and BOCES, attempted community college, but completely failed due to the mental strain my environment was causing me. So for about a year or so, my dream of becoming a nurse became distant. And to be frank, things were not going the direction I'd hoped for. See, the thing about growing up in abuse is that you don't realize when you're repeating the same toxic cycles when you're older. And that is exactly what I was doing. I ended up falling into an abusive relationship that only led me to even more depression and anxiety, homelessness, and this time, even trouble with the law. I remember having to resort to theft in order to meet my basic needs for a long time. And it wasn't until I got a letter in the mail that I had to appear in court that reality hit me. It wasn't until then that I started to think about the life choices I had been making up to that point. For a quick second, I stopped to ponder on the dreams and goals that I once planned for when I was a kid. And so as you can see, many times I've fallen down, but what has been a constant pattern in my life is that each time I've always gotten back up. I've always had the ability to recognize and decipher between right and wrong. And despite always feeling alone and feeling like I had nobody to run to, thankfully there's always been at least one person who came along and gave me answers exactly when I've needed them. And Brenda Esquivel was that person for me once again in 2018. That same lady I've been mentioning from middle school and high school. For some odd reason, she'd always seen that there was something more that was there for me. And so when she found out about my situation, she told me about SUNY and Adirondack and their nursing program. And I knew immediately that I wanted to apply. Reconnecting with her once again felt like fate. And so a month later, I found myself being driven by an ex-boyfriend's mother to a new beginning in upstate New York. I grew up in the downstate area, somewhere about 3 hours from where I live now. So coming up here was my fresh start. And although I was still homeless but dorming at the college, I was happy. I was happy because I was finally heading back towards the direction I intended to follow the moment I left my grandmother's house. College life was another hurdle in itself. From learning to be self-sufficient and disciplined to learning to be independent, I still struggled greatly getting through my classes. I had no idea what I was doing, carrying so much baggage from so many years and being in a new environment trying to still survive. And the fact that I once again had gotten involved with someone who was no good for me didn't help either. I ended up pregnant in the third semester of taking my prereqs for the nursing program. I was still dorming at the time and continued going to classes up until I couldn't anymore. But one thing about me, I grew up in chaos, so I handled all these things pretty well. And I cannot take all the credit myself because when it came down to leave the dorms, nowhere to go, once again I was looked out for by someone who I will refer to today as a college advisor. But really, she was involved in a special program for someone that assisted specific individuals pursuing a degree in the healthcare field. This woman not only helped me out throughout my journey to enter the nursing program, but also got me connected with the organization known as the White House. So from the college dorms, I came to the transitional living program provided by the White House, took a semester off from college with the intention to continue after giving birth, and got my life together. White House helped me get a roof over my head for me and my daughters, and shortly after giving birth, I was accepted into the nursing program and have accomplished so much with the assistance of people and organizations that I have no idea how much they've truly impacted my life. Sometimes I wish that it all had happened a better way, but I don't think I would have gained all the knowledge and wisdom I know today without all the mistakes I made to get as far as I've come. So tonight, I would like to give the White House and all of its supporters, Lauren Wickheiser, Michelle Foley from the Salvation Army, and Brenda Esquivel, a special thank you for being the support system I never had.
It's an honor to share the stage with this extraordinary human being. I saw too much too young, grew up angry, then grew numb. No place left to run, I felt trapped. Now I know I'm not the first to hurt myself in words, looking for the love I never had. When my family kicked me out, I landed on a boyfriend's couch. Now I'm raising babies on my own. For to love them and protect, I'll break out from this brokenness and find a way to climb out of this hole. Take this darkness, take this pain, make me the last link in this poison chain. No more abuse, I'm living through. If it's the last thing I do, you'll see it ends with me. Who believed there was something else for me. I think I know where I might be without their help. My daughters taught me everything. They make my spirit sing and keep me working on the best version of myself. Take this darkness, take this pain, make me the last link in this poison chain. No more abuse, I'm living through. the last thing I do, you'll see it ends with me. I wish I could show my mom just how far I've come. That's something that my girls won't have to say. No more darkness, no more pain. I'll be the last link in that poison chain. No more of you. I'm living through. If it's the last thing I do, you'll see. 'Cause it took a lifetime, but now I'm free, and it ends with me. It ends